Hi everyone, welcome to Youser. I'm Jeremy. This is the show all about user-generated content in MMOs. Normally when we think of user-generated content, we are thinking of EverQuest 2's Dungeon Maker or player housing in different games, or even more recently Star Trek Online's Foundry or City of Heroes Architect. Little plug-and-play things. Rarely do we think of an entire game that's user-generated. Except perhaps the newer Minecraft. But actually Minecraft didn't really do it first, and Minecraft is in a way related to what I want to talk about today. This is Wurm Online, and this game could be said to be entirely user-generated. Everything in this game is user-generated content in some way. The game basically starts as one giant wild landmass, and then the players create everything and terraform and build this road that I'm on, the lamp posts that you see, these vendors where you can actually buy and sell from, the fencing, everything you see in here that isn't natural, and actually some of the stuff that is natural has been planted specifically in certain areas, like these trees. This is a pen that was made to hold some animals. You can breed animals and raise them and grow crops. And so I'm going to cover just a few basics of this game because we are going to be visiting it again and quite often. This game, for people who are used to, say, World of Warcraft or you know, today's faster-paced games, this game may frustrate them a little. Wurm Online takes some dedication. It takes time and patience to do everything. Let me move up here to get some examples. It's winter time right now, by the way, which surprised me when I logged in today, because just the other day it wasn't winter. And that's another thing about this game. There's seasons in this game, and that affects gameplay. Certain vegetation only grows during certain seasons, so players plan ahead and they're like, oh, you know, I want to harvest. I need to plant and harvest as much as I can, you know, during spring, because there's only certain things that grow during that time. I'm not sure about winter. You would think winter nothing much is going to grow, but winter might have some stuff towards it. But so I'm moving over to some housing areas. This is the village of Seablick. I'm actually a citizen here. You can form little communities. You kind of really need to. It's very hard for a brand new player to just jump in and go solo. You'll probably die. You really need to get with somebody, because you start out with, let's take a look here at my inventory and skills. They start you out with some basics, but they kind of plop you down. It's sort of like playing, sort of like that show Survivor. I always imagine it's sort of like that show. You just plop down in this vast wilderness, and you know, and they're like, there you go. They have been working on a tutorial to ease introduction into the game, but part of its charm is actually that it's a wilderness that you need to survive. So if you just made it easy to survive, then it kind of is counterintuitive. All these houses and fences and everything you see here, this gate's normally locked unless you're a citizen, so you're not going to be able to get in here unless you're, you know, given permission. This is a token. This is a settlement token, and people can buy them. This is a free-to-play game with additional purchases, so people can buy deeds to start their own little village, and what it does is it gives you permission to claim a certain space, a certain amount of land, mass, and it lets you claim that, and you can get protection from NPC guards and whatnot. But there's plenty of stuff to do if you take a look at the skills list here. It's tons and tons of skills, and the skill level goes up simply by using them. But when you first start the game, you're not going to have a whole heck of a lot on you. You're not going to have much in your inventory. You will have some basics, like I think they give you like an iron saw, and I think you get a hatchet and a mallet. So you can, you could immediately go and start trying to chop down some trees. I'm not going to do that because they don't want that done. The mayor of Seablick, he has a game plan. He and she, they're dual mayors. Which I don't know what the current game plan is right now. I usually just help out. But as you can see here, you can terraform the land, and just to give you a quick idea, and I've actually turned off the functionality where you can see the grid, but the entire world is made up of squares, like a giant grid, sort of like grid paper, you know, just being laid over top of the land, and you can affect each little square in each of the four corners of each little square. So, like if I took my shovel, let me find it here, highlight it. I can come to the corner. See, this is a corner of one of the grids. I wish I turned it on. Let me see if I can. I'm forgetting how to turn it on. Whoops, that's not how you do it. I think I have to turn it on in the before I log in, but this is one of the squares, and I might have to highlight. Here we go. So I could right click to bring up a little action menu, and I could do stuff to this square or the corner of this square. So I could dig, and if you look in the bottom right hand corner, I have a little timer. It says I'm digging. You can hear some little digging effects. Now, did you see that when I have such a high digging skill that once you reach like 20, you get extra information. You become a skilled digger, right? So you can, you know, the idea is you learn more. So I can look at what's called the tile border, which there's tile borders in between each grid. And as you can see, I scroll over this, and it tells me tile border is one slope up. And that's because I just dug this corner. And if you look in my inventory, there's the dirt that I just dug. And it'll add weight, and you have a weight limit on your body, and if you get too burdened, you'll really, really slow down. So I'm just going to drop this again. I'm going to click on it and just click drop. Now you can see the tile border says flat. And that's essentially how you terraform the entire land. That's one of four corners of one little square, which would be from like this corner to about here. So it's just this one square right here. And then you can lay down stuff. You can learn skills in masonry, of course. There's a ton of skills in like non-combat arts, like carpentry and masonry. I'm trying to up my masonry. I'm only up to 18 because I want to be able to build these tall stone walls. These are small stone walls with iron fencing, and there's tons of different kinds of material. As you can see, here's some wood, and here's some stone wall housing. These buildings didn't exist at all here. This was nothing but untamed wilderness here until the players came, flattened the land, laid and crafted the stone tablets and laid them down, and built the frames to the houses. And then it's a really kind of time-intensive game, but it's really charming. it can take a long time. Like I was saying, an example, better example would probably be that if you want to build a house, like if you want to build this house, right? This is a very large house. The larger the house, the more skill you need. But let's just say you wanted a very small little shack that was like the size of one tile. You still would need all the requisite material. You would need wood, so you'd have to have an axe, go chop down a tree. There's different qualities of trees and wood and different kinds. You'd have to chop down that tree, but then you'd have to chop it up into logs. Then you have to take those logs and saw them into planks. Well, then you have your planks. Then you would need nails, and nails are made of iron, so you would need iron. So you'd have to find iron, which you might have to go somewhere and just start digging down into the ground until maybe you hit and start creating a bit of a cave, which you would need more than just a shovel. You'd maybe need your pickaxe, and then keep digging until you find some iron ore. But you can't just use that iron ore. You have to smelt it, and in order to smelt it, you would need a fire pit, a fire, or an oven like this, or a forge. And you'd have to build that. You'd have to build the forge or the oven. Even the simplest thing, I think, would be a fire pit, and it would still take a little bit. It'd probably take a very long time to smelt ore in just an open fire pit. There's different factors that change depending on what you're trying to do. Just because you've created fire doesn't mean it's going to be the same, regardless of how that fire is presented. So let's say you went through all the trouble and took for a long time to make this oven. Well, then you'd need the wood. You'd have to have your flint and steel. And if you don't have flint and steel, you'd have to get some, make it. Then you can light it with the wood. You need kindling, so you have to use a whittling knife sometimes or a saw, and light your oven, and then you can put the ore in your oven, and then you wait a certain amount of time, and it will get warm and then hot and then searing hot. Then you'll need a hammer. And then you'll need an anvil. Blacksmiths need anvils, So then you can take that, and then you can take that searing hot ore onto your anvil and your hammer, and you can bang out some nails, and then you'll have your nails, and then you get enough nails and enough planks, you can build your house. But first, you would need to plan your house. The trick in Wurm to get around there has to be some tricks, because it's a game, right? Even though it's a time-intensive game. The trick is you can make a building plan, and that's sort of like a blueprint. And so the size and shape of your house plan is dependent on things like, I think, your carpentry skill. But then let's say I only wanted that one tile. I go to a flat bit of land. I might have to flatten that land. I think I click on it or the border, and I say plan house, and then immediately a wooden frame appears to show that I planned the house. But then you need something crazy like 16 wooden boards per wall, and you only actually need one nail per wall. They definitely had to come up with a way to balance things. So some things don't make absolute sense compared to the real world, but the game is challenging nonetheless, and they tried to give you that real world surviving in a wilderness kind of feel to it. If you look in the top left corner at some of my gauges, I have this compass. This is a really old shabby compass, so every time I move it kind of breaks, so you can see it counting down. I have to stay still for so long for it to register correctly. And there you can see, now I can see which way I'm facing. And then my gauge here, you have stamina, health, water, food, and nutrition. And this is very, very important. Water and food. Nutrition is attached to food a little bit. Well, not a little bit, it is. But basically, this is water, this is food. And this is all very, very important. You start running out and you'll starve to death. There is ways around some things. Like if you die, it's not permadeath in this game, but you'll lose everything on your body. I mean, you can get help to go back to it, but I foolishly thought that I could, go solo out into an area of the game, in the woods, and I thought I'd played for a while and got my skills up some. No, it's like I ran across this giant spider and it just kicked my butt. I mean, it's very, very dangerous. Even when you start the game, the little tiny rats you don't want to mess with. You really don't. You really want to be careful. And so usually one of the first things a person does is they learn how, probably one of the first things they do is they learn to seek out a body of water somewhere, because they're like, oh my goodness, where can I go to get water to drink? Well, luckily you can find a body of water like this one here, and you can just click on a tile. You can right click a tile and then hit drink, and then you can watch in the bottom right and in the top left. Bottom right, the drink counter went up. In the bottom left, you can see my water level went up to 99%. My food is at 72%, nutrition 69. This is all thanks to my mayors and the other citizens of Seeblick. Without them, I would be in a lot of trouble. I mean, it actually can be very, very hard to come by food. Because, I mean, eventually it's not, but really in the beginning, I mean, you can grow food. There's all kinds of grains and whatnot, and you can find dead animals that NPCs killed, like this thing here, the corpse of an aged black wolf. Definitely don't want to run into that. Even my skill right now, that I've gotten up a little bit, I've gotten my body strength over 20 and stuff. I probably still wouldn't want to go one-on-one with one of these things. But I could, I could check it, and sometimes you get lucky. On the dead wolf, you can find some wolf meat. And then if you're lucky, you can find some, find a fire, make a fire, what have you, and then cook it up, and that will help get more nutrition out of it, because that's sort of how nutrition plays on the food. But I'm going to end this here. I think it's gone long enough, and I'm just rambling. I just wanted to give kind of an unscheduled, unplanned kind of look at this game. I didn't really have a game plan, and I didn't create an outline for exactly what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to jump in kind of and spontaneously show you what this game is like. And that's hopefully what I did. I did a good job, I hope. We will be visiting this a lot more, and I will be diving into details about specific things. So if you do have any questions, though, right now, just go ahead and ask away. Fire away in the comment section below. You can always get a hold of me on Twitter. I'm at Jeremy_Stratton. You can find me on Google at Google Plus at Jeremy Stratton. My blog is www.justonemore.com, spelled MMORE. All those links will be in the description box below. And remember, Youser comes out a new episode every Saturday, and I also have Dungeoneered comes out every Friday, all about player housing and dungeons in EverQuest 2. Until in Times, all about the classic MMORPG Vanguard Saga of Heroes, comes out every Sunday. So I will see you guys next week.